Hey guys, how's it going? I just thought I'd hop on here and do a quick little greenhouse tour. And this is actually the second time I have filmed this video because the first one, the quality. Okay, please ignore the stuttering in this next clip. It's ugly. The sound was awful because I had the fans on, so we are trying this again. But anyways, I just thought I'd hop on here and kind of go through some of the cooler things that I've got going on in the greenhouse, tell you a little bit about them, that kind of stuff. So let's just hop right in it. Probably the biggest thing right now is this, it's some kind of pumpkin or gourd or vine. I think it's a pumpkin, but it is just absolutely taking over. It started down here. It has worked its way all the way up and then all the way over, and then it's actually going out the greenhouse too. You can kind of see it down there. But yeah, it is just grabbing on to absolutely everything. It's grabbing onto the screen up there, and my poor monster Adansonia that I'm gonna have to move because it is grabbing onto it right there. But anyways, we'll start right here. So this is just a plumeria that I've got. I can bring it over here. It really needs to be repotted because it's coming out the bottom. But it's actually a really nice plant. It is seed grown. It's got some nice leaves except for that one. But it has some really nice leaves coming on it. And that is not scale. Trust me, I have very closely examined it. But it actually isn't. It looks very similar, but it's not. I have sprayed it just in case. But everything looks really healthy on it. The trunk's not shriveled up or anything. So yeah, it looks really, really good. It's supposed to be white when it blooms, so we'll see, what color it turns out to be. Like I already mentioned, the Monstera Adansonii right there, that is the round form of it. I do also have the narrow form, which I'll show you here in a minute when we get to it. But I just love the Monstera Adansonii. It's a super easy grower. Might have to make like a top 5 or top 10 of my favorite easy growing plants for you guys, because there's quite a few that are super easy, and that would be definitely one of them. So moving up, we've got this little Hoya up here. Let me see if I can grab it for you. This was given to me as a Hindu rope, but as you can see, it's not so crinkly like a rope is. It's almost more of just like a Carnosa hybrid or something like that. It is putting out that new vine, so I'm excited about that. And this one has not yet put out any new growth on this vine here this summer. But we do have the second vine coming out. So it's growing at least, and it looks decent. It's a really bright green, but that should be fine. Given that it is in really bad soil, so that's going to have to be repotted. So that's the only thing with that. Next to it is a really sad looking Epipremnum Cebu Blue. It looks really bad. Some days it looks really well, and then some days it looks like this. I did actually water the greenhouse probably a couple hours ago when I got home from work, so I don't know if it's just this plant or the really hot heat that we're having. I really don't know. Some of the leaves look pretty decent on it, but then the overall plant just looks like that. Given it probably is getting a little more light than it would like. So we might just have to hang it like underneath the bench or something to see if that'll help it. But we'll just kind of trial and error, see what works for us. Behind them are two bird of paradises. I actually picked them up when I was in Florida last year. They don't look good at all. The roots are probably, oh no, they feel firm. I was gonna say the roots are probably rotted on them, but they really shouldn't be because I've got another bird of paradise that's growing just fine. But I don't know. I might just have to dig them out and see what they look like in there one day. So might do a video, like a repotting video or something like that, and we might dive into it. I've got numerous Christmas cacti. They've all put out really nice growth this summer. And we've got another one hanging up right here. And then we've got a whole bunch of cuttings, down there that I started last year. And they've all put out a lot of new growth, so they look really well. Something that popped up in this pot is some kind of cactus seedling. I have no idea what it would be because, these didn't ever seed for me, and I don't have any other cacti that I have pollinated to get seed from. So honestly, I have no idea where that seedling would have come from, but I mean, it's growing, so we'll let it grow out and see what it turns out to be. So I mean, I guess that's kind of exciting. Up here we've got a Dischidia Jerry. It looks really good. It's putting out a ton of new growth. It is getting maybe just a little bit sunburned up there. And then if you see here, it's got tons of little secondary vines coming out. I don't know if that's a pest or what. I don't think it is. But we might just spray it as a precautionary. Just to be on the safe side, but I mean, it looks really well. It's growing really good for me. So it's actually the first Dischidia I've ever, gotten. I have had Hoyas in the past, and they usually do pretty good for me, and they are in the same family. So, I mean, care-wise, it's similar. So they seem to do really well. In the back, we have a couple of rubber trees. This one I'm super happy with because it's put out some really nice large leaves, and they're very waxy and pretty. So I'm really happy with that. If you look right here, we've got a very nice Philodendron micans, very long lancelet shaped leaves almost. Lovely bronze color that will then fade to that kind of dark shiny green almost. Sorry about that, that's my dog. But yeah, I mean, it looks really good. I'm so happy with it. I've only had it maybe about a month, and it's just exploding with growth. It really looks good. In the back, we've got my baby, my Monstera deliciosa. It is propped up on that piece of wood, but I don't think it's like attaching to it or anything. And that wasn't exactly the plan whenever I staked it. But the leaves do seem to appreciate it because they are getting larger every time, it does put out a new leaf, and I'm getting more fenestrations and more holes with every new leaf. And if you can't tell already, we do have a little bit of caterpillar damage, and he even left us a little present. I have sprayed this plant, so hopefully that will take care of any issues that we might run into later. I really don't have any, knock on wood, oh please dear God, knock on wood, I don't have any bad pest problems per se. Every now and then, I might just get like a mealybug or something, just simple, easy to take care of. So, hopefully that caterpillar is long gone. And then we also have one of my other favorite philodendrons. I do not know the idea of this plant. There's lots of them that look very similar to it, but I feel like it's just probably a hybrid of a couple of different things. And this is the newest leaf, and we are getting a new leaf coming out. I brought all my plants out in probably around April, which is a little earlier than I normally do. So I don't know if this would maybe be cold damage or if it's sunburn. I don't really know what that is, but like on this leaf, and then I actually just cut off a leaf the other day that looked kind of bad, but they all kind of have it on them. And of course there's a train, so hopefully, it doesn't make too big of a difference. But I mean, it does grow fairly well for me. It did get kind of a late start this year though. Just last week it put out the first leaf of the season, so it kind of got a late start. But at least it's growing, kudos for that. Down here we do have a bunch of Cebu Blue cuttings. That one I'm trying to get it to grow on some moss, which actually looks like we're getting some success there, maybe, hopefully. So I will definitely keep you guys updated on that. I'll probably make an Instagram post about it, so keep an eye out for that. And then we've got a little Philodendron micans cutting here. These leaves kind of shriveled up, but it did put out that new leaf. So they're growing really well. Hopefully we'll get a nice plant out of it. And then back here we've got a little Sansevieria. It's like a bird's nest type, but it did put out this really nice leaf. I'm really liking it. And I did repot it in this bigger nursery pot, and it has popped out this really nice pup. So I'm really impressed with this. There for a while it just didn't do anything, but here recently it's really kind of taken off. And then we've got my climbing aloe here. There's actually the 2 in there, and they go all the way up to there, and then that one goes all the way up to there, and then there's actually quite a few babies coming up in the pot. Super easy grower. It doesn't get any special care. It could use a little bit of cleaning up because it does have some dead leaves, but I mean, super easy grower. I don't even have to do anything to it really, just give it some water. And then behind this philodendron leaf, we've got a couple of Monstera deliciosa babies, this one being the smaller one. No fenestrations yet, but this is a much more mature cutting that I took off of it, more or less a division, because it did have roots when I took it, so I guess it would be a division. But it does have some fenestrations on it. So happy for that. Ignore that mess. We do have quite a few orchids just kind of sprinkled throughout the greenhouse. It used to be mostly orchids, but now recently it's kind of getting into more of like the houseplant side of things. So I mean, we still have a good amount of orchids. Like this Cattleya here. I actually picked it up at my Kroger, believe it or not, but it is putting on a nice growth there. We just love trains. Yes, we do. But here's the ID on it. It's a SLC, Doris and Byron NN. It's a really pretty kind of light colored creamy flower, kind of orange, kind of pink, really nice. And we have another rubber tree here putting out some nice growth. Another orchid. This is I bought this as a Prince of Orange philodendron, but the roots look really bad on it, like almost non-existent. So I'm hoping that it'll, grow some roots, but we'll see. It almost looks more like a moonlight, but I promise it did look a lot more like a Prince of Orange when I bought it. More orchids. Here's a pretty cool orchid. It's known as like the pickle orchid. It is a Dendrobium cucumberianum crossed with Sib. It's it's actually a really easy grower. See, it's got some new roots coming on it there. Lots of new growth. It's just really interesting. I really like it. I picked it up at the orchid show last year. Whoa, careful there. I picked it up at the orchid show last year. Usually around October is when the orchid show is, so I might have to make a video then, because I mean, it really won't be too much longer before the orchid show, because here it is already somewhat mid to late July, so we don't have a whole lot longer. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. Here's my other bird of paradise that looks a lot better. It's growing a lot better than the other 2 that I showed you earlier. So we'll see. I mean, I don't necessarily plan on it blooming anytime soon, if at all, but it's just a kind of an interesting foliage plant. And then up here we've got a mounted Cattleya orchid. This is a green variety, like the flowers are really nice neon green. And then in the back we've got a epidendrum mounted with it, which is putting out some new growth. So kind of happy with that. Here is the narrow form of the Monstera adansonii. It is growing on that plank, so that's really nice. I do have some other divisions from this plant that I separated out of the pot that it was in, and since I have repotted it, we already have a new shoot coming out, and then possibly another one right there. Yeah, right there. Kind of see it. So we'll see. Hopefully, we get some nice growth off this guy since it has been repotted. It actually was really stressed for a while, and this leaf has 0 fenestrations in it, versus the last one. Look at all those fenestrations. So it definitely got stressed in that time, but since it has put out some nice fenestrated leaves with a new one on the way. So I really like that. That was the first Adansonia that I got. And then the other one was just recently, actually, probably about a couple months ago. I picked it, and that Micans up at the same time, same place. It's a really nice nursery, but yeah, really great nursery. A couple more orchids. They don't look the best. Then in here we've got some Philodendron bipennifolium, or the horsehead orchid, or Philodendron panda, you know, quite a few different names. I actually bought it on eBay. I bought it as one plant, but it came as 4 different cuttings, one of which being a really nice top cutting. So it's growing really nicely. The leaves aren't quite mature, but I mean, it shouldn't take hardly any time. Because philodendrons and like monsteras, aroids, that kind of family usually does really well in my climate, especially in the greenhouse where it's super humid and hot. So they usually, you know, explode with growth. I've actually got a Rhaphidophora tetrasperma that I've ordered. It is a seedling. Well, I say seedling, but it's a very young plant. So I'm hoping that it'll get some nice growth on it before the winter. It's supposed to ship somewhere around the 25th, so next week. Yeah, next week. Hopefully we'll get some good growth on it. But I'll keep you guys updated. Then over here we've got some odds and ends mixed with some supplies and like trash. We've got a pretty nice Epipernum aureum up here, the golden pothos. Whenever I take it in, for some reason it looks like it's gonna die, and then when I bring it back out, it looks great. Lots of more orchids kind of mixed in. There's a ponytail palm back there, Dendrobium, Cattleya type, Oncidium type, Brassivola, a nearly dead Cattleya. This one is actually the first Cattleya that I ever rebloomed, and I bought it in Louisiana, and I loved it when it bloomed. It bloomed with 2 flowers. I was so proud of myself, and now look at it. I'm sorry. Then we got a couple of Paphiopedilums here, that one and that one, and then we got some Dendrobiums and some Phalaenopsis back there. We're getting to the home stretch, guys. So up here we've got this little Senecio. I'm pretty sure it's been renamed to something else, but I'll put the name up on the screen. Got it at Walmart. It was only about $4, otherwise known as a pickle plant because the little green spots look like little pickles. It is tapering off at the top, so I don't know if that's a light issue or what, but I did notice that we are getting, if it'll focus, yeah, there we go, some new growth coming up, so kind of excited about that. It really should be repotted, so we might have to add that to the repotting video as well. Some Sansevieria cylindrica back there. I actually bought it at TJ Maxx. All of those were in a pot, I kid you not, like that big. So I did separate them out, potted them, so hopefully we'll get some new growth off of them. Not expecting a whole lot out of them, just because they are kind of starting to decline a little bit. But I mean, they are rooted pretty nicely since I put them in these pots, so hopefully we might get some new growth out of them. Up here we have a Hawornia, similar to those Stapelias. This guy should be getting ready to bloom. It bloomed all summer last year, so hopefully we'll get some buds off of it. But I mean, definitely follow me on Instagram. I'll link it below, so you guys can see it there first, you know, before I make a video about it and when it does bloom. But yeah, it looks really good. At least it is growing pretty well, so that's good anyways. Up here we've got a pot of the Boletília striata, the hardy ground orchid. I bought these bulbs, golly, it was still winter, probably, you know, a couple months before it was even going to warm up. And I just kind of had them in my room hanging on the back of the door, and I almost forgot about them. So I just kind of brought them out here one day. Wasn't expecting hardly anything at all out of them. But we did get one to come up, so fingers crossed that it does grow pretty good. And then I'm hoping next spring I'll put it outside. And they're supposed to be hardy to like zone 5. I'm in zone 6B, so it should be, you know, hardy. But I have tried it in the past outside and it did not make it. So we're gonna put it in a different spot in the yard, and hopefully we'll get some better success out of it. Nothing came up out of that pot. Up here we've got a euphorbia. It is the Euphorbia Murray. I think that's how you say it. I'm not really sure, but that's the name of it. Otherwise known as snake spurge. I'd really just call it Euphorbia. But it is really nice. It's putting out some nice growth. I did actually take 2 cuttings of it here and here. Hopefully they will root. And then, you know, we'll go from there. I keep making all these different cuttings and divisions, and to be honest with you, I'm running out of room, especially when I bring them in the winter. So I ended up just giving most of them away. I need to open like an eBay shop or like an Etsy shop or something and sell some of these things that I make. But, you know, hopefully maybe one day we'll get there. And then up here we've got a sable palmetto that I started from seed. There was a guy, a couple of years ago, that sent me seeds from Texas. And it took me probably about a year to actually get around to planting them. This guy germinated on the 14th of March of last year, so it is a little over a year old. And this is its first leaf of the season. And I did fertilize it recently, so hopefully we'll get some good growth out of it. So we should, you know, get some good growth. I'd say maybe if I still have it within 3 or 4 years, maybe we'll try to plant it out in the yard, but we're not there yet, so we'll see. Up here we have, ignore the begonia, we have my only ZZ plant, Zamioculcas zamiifolia, and this is the Zenzi variety, so it is a very miniature variety. The leaves are very close together on it, so it's kind of interesting, especially over just the normal form, that the leaves are very spread out and very flowy looking. I really like the compact look of this. And then we've got another orchid. And just recently, within the last week, I've bought a ton of new plants. I haven't made them out to the greenhouse yet, just because I do kind of like to acclimate the plants before they come out here. Just because on a daily, it's, you know, 100 or above out here. Especially within this coming weekend, as we're having kind of the heat wave. So really gonna have to take my time acclimating them to the greenhouse. But I'll kind of insert a little picture, you know, right here. I have a little group shot of the different plants that I got. There's that pumpkin again. But yeah, I'll insert a picture of the new plants that I've gotten. Might have to do like a plant haul or something like that. But yeah, let me know what your favorite plant was out of the video, or if you guys have any questions, you know, feel free to comment. Let me know anything you want me to know, or comment questions, that kind of stuff. I'll be happy to answer them. But yeah, thanks for watching.